Yeah, literally though. Yeah.
Or rhyme sayers would have responded to
Yeah.
me. Like,
No, that's smart.
And it was just kind of, I don't know, like a wake up call of like, all right, like there's a lot of possibilities out there with the internet. And like, what can happen? Anything.
Let's get it. All right, what's up, Waterwave fam? You're here with Elliot from Waterwave TV, and I'm here with my boy Gozie Koga and Gabe Broderick. How you guys doing?
pretty good.
For sure. Welcome in. Welcome in.
Thank you.
So, Gozie, just getting to know you to start off.
Sure.
You just recently dropped a project, Colors.
Yep.
Just the past 2 days ago, actually, November
Yep.
29th.
November 29th.
So can you tell us like
A
more
little bit
about
about
that? Yeah.
Yeah, so Color LP is like a project I've been working on for the past 5 years. The first project I ever did was an EP titled Shade, Shade EP.
Yeah.
And I put that out in 2019, Black Friday, November 29th. So the 5-year anniversary was when I dropped Color LP.
Okay. Wow.
So I'd kind of been working on it here and there throughout. I put a mixtape out in between, like last year, titled Overtime Goes, and then I kind of have one, essentially a sequel to that as well, that I'll put out next year.
Okay.
That I'll probably put out next month or so, maybe like late January. So, yeah, I've just kind of been working on that for like the past 5 years. It sounds crazy to say, but it's like, yeah, it just took me a long time because it wasn't sounding how I wanted it to, and there's things that I was going through that I wanted to like express in a better way.
Okay.
And then I got pandemic. And then
No, definitely. It's a lot going on.
Yep.
But it literally does, like, I listen to it when it sounds like a refined version of, like, your original tape or even, like, Overtime.
Yep.
Like, just constantly, like, the same subject matters, but even more refined beats or, like,
Sure.
audio-wise.
Yep.
Like you said, it does sound like you've been working on that process.
Yep, 100%. So I think that project also, like, partway through it, I met Gabe, honestly, partway through making the album. And we shot, like, a short film that's named after one of the tracks.
Yeah, Interstate 94. Yeah,
So
that's fire.
we worked on that together, and Gabe can talk a little bit about that.
Definitely.
But we met in 2022, 2021. I reached out to you.
Might have even been 2021.
Yeah.
But we were just casually kind of chatting about it.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, it took a while to really get into actually, like, pre-pro.
Right.
But then, once we really started to get into it, then, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was 2021.
Yeah.
And how'd you guys even link up? Was it just like mutual friends, or just you just hit them up or something?
I'm kind of one of those people that's like, big on credits and the internet, of course, and
for
stuff.
sure.
So I always kind of just watched Gabe's work. And I think sometime during the pandemic, something told me to look through his portfolio
YouTube.
again.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him. I don't know, but at some point he'd emailed me back, and I think I sent him a Facebook message as well.
Fire.
Just the typical,
Oh, man.
sometimes, you reach out to people and you don't hear back. There's millions of people I've reached out to, I feel like, sometimes that I don't hear back from. But a lot of times you do hear back, so.
And I feel like that's one tool or thing that people take for granted in the internet age, is like that you actually can genuinely reach out with people with an intention to build and connect, like, really easily. Like, most people are just using it to, like, comment or like or do random bullshit, but you actually can make genuine moves from the internet.
Absolutely. And I think with intention, too, because, when I was, like, 17, I reached out to Brother Ali. I don't know what I was going to do with Brother Ali.
Yeah,
responded
literally,
to me,
though.
or rhyme sayers would have responded to me. Like,
No, that's smart, though.
you know what I mean?
Because even just for them to look at the DM and see it means you now can hit them up in the future whenever,
100%.
and they see it right away.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
yeah.
And to that point, I think then having something legitimate, right? Because maybe not to go too off track, but if I was to reach out to somebody like Metro Boomin today, and I was like, hey, I really like your last song, and he says, sounds good. In some sense, that's kind of a wasted opportunity. It would have been better if I was like, hey, I'm working on a movie and I wish you could score it. That's probably the honest time to reach out to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, honestly, part of it was also because I was legitimately looking to work on something with Gabe, and I had an idea, it eventually evolved, I believe, but a lot. But I did reach out to him with the honest intention of working on something pretty captivating. But
Yeah.
I think he also took it to the standard where he kind of saw it to be.
No, yeah, it's definitely a movie. And I was going to ask you about that as well, like how you guys came up with the ideas, or was it originally like yours, or how did you think about
I
it?
give a lot of the credit treatment-wise to Gabe. You know, it's easy to have an idea, but it's difficult to have experience, I think, in life. Like, it's easy to have an idea. Like, anyone can think of an idea to make a hat, but if you know how to make hats, you're like, well, this is how hats are made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, like, if you make beats, it's like, people could be like, dude, you should just throw a choir in there. And it's like, I could, but this choir is already this loud, and, you know, the noise floor. You have an idea of what limitations you have when
Exactly.
you actually do what you do. So I feel like when I was talking to Gabe treatment-wise, I had a lot of ideas, but I credit him a lot for also grounding them. If I was just tired and saying whatever, he'd take note of what I said, but it wasn't like, that's your best idea.
Yeah.
He would then kind of be like, this is what, based on what we've spoken about, seems like the cream.
Yeah, like how to
you know what I
elevate
mean?
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like I was just trying to go off of like the subject matter in your tracks,
Right.
like without kind of like coming up with my whole own. Because I think we were like, you know, I feel like in those two tracks, it's like a loose narrative.
Yes.
Where like you can kind of get a little bit of a picture of what's going on or what your what the story is that you're talking about.
Right.
And so I was just trying to like kind of reflect that in the visual. So like it's not like super on the nose like, okay, this is what's going on. Like there's room for interpretation, but you get kind of a like a broad outline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
without
there's
like
definitely-
trying
that's
to
fire. Fuck with that.
like impose a narrative on what you're doing, like on your music, so the music can kind of still come forward and elaborate on like the visual. Still, it's not like, okay, here's the visual is just about this. It's super obvious. The song's kind of doing its own thing over here. It's like, like this is interesting. What's the what's the subject matter of the song? How is that interplaying with the visual? You know,
absolutely.
to you know like give the viewer a little bit more of an active participation in that. You know? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
No, that makes a lot of sense because I definitely get that vibe when I watch the music video because it feels like it goes with what you're saying in the song, but it's not exactly happening like in real time, like of the lyrics.
Sure.
But like when you talk about like you feel like you're dreaming or something, and then in the video you wake up from a nap and you're actually in like Colorado.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, so it like plays into the visual in the
Yep,
song.
yep.
I fuck with
So
that.
yeah, you know, 2 notes on that. One of them I would say, yeah, we did go to the Badlands for that. So that was in South Dakota actually.
Oh, in South Dakota. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Colorado, I think the analogy kind of fell through too because similar landscape.
Yeah.
So that's where I was born.
Okay.
I wasn't there for much
So,
time, but
so now the fans know that
I
about
was
you.
born there though. But that's what, yeah. So I was there for whatever, a year or 2 of my life.
Nice.
You know, but I would say the larger point then is I worked on the song after the video was kind of being put together. So the song, I mean, if you heard the original version that I emailed Gabe, I mean, you would be, you know, blown away by hearing the, you know, the final, the AB, because it kind of elevated me. I was like, I can't put this out without,
Yeah,
you know.
without having a song up to that par.
yeah, I mean, at a
That's
lot of
fire,
points,
then.
and
That's fire.
I think, you know, even Gabe had pushed me at a certain point, like, hey, there's something here on this first track, you know, the Colorado track,
Yeah.
that I really like about how you enhanced it. Could you try doing some things? So in a lot of ways, he was, you know, a producer in that regard too.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of push me to work a little harder on the song, you know, which I appreciate, honestly, because you'll find you'll find a lot of yes men in the entertainment industry. You
True.
know, the people you roll with or rock with, they're not yes men per se, but it's easy for them to pat you on the back and go do what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be like, okay, like somebody just said that I could make this beat better. Like, who's going to tell me that other than me?
Yeah.
Right? You know?
And I feel like, but those people with the yes men are usually like the here today, gone tomorrow type people.
100%.
Because like back, I took a trip to Detroit last year, and we
Yeah.
stopped at the Motown Museum,
Yeah.
And we got to learn a lot about like how they ran things with A&Rs and Barry Gordy's system.
Yep.
And like they had like every time the Jackson 5 and them would want to make a song or drop a song, they would have to perform it in front of the whole label, even the artist. And then they would be like, if you were hungry and you had $5 left, would you buy this song or a burger? And if it wasn't the song, then we ain't dropping it.
Right.
Type of deal.
Yep.
So I feel like that mentality into music makes it the process even better because it's a craft.
It's a craft, 100%. And music is, you know, it's one of the most portable art forms in the world, and it's one of the most, you know, economically affordable art forms in the world. I wouldn't say cheap, but
yeah.
you know, it is. It's because you could, you know, if somebody's playing music on the street, that's free.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on YouTube, that's essentially free if you have a Wi-Fi connection, and you don't even have to own the Wi-Fi.
Literally.
So
Literally.
to be honest with you, so to make something that's worth people's money is like, it's a feat, truly. That's worth people's time, for people to come out in the rain or whatever, to come and, you know, listen to you or work on what you're doing, or say, hey, this is my favorite song that came out this year.
Yeah.
It's really something people should strive towards. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely represent that mentality with your craft for sure. And so that brings me to like your musical upbringing or inspiration. Like, what were you inspired by growing up, or artistically to even create how you create sonically?
Sure. I think I started playing piano when I was young. Me and my older brothers, I have 2 older brothers, were in piano lessons growing up in Duluth. That's where I moved after being born in Colorado. I lived in Duluth from like 2 to like maybe when I was maybe 8 years old.
Okay.
And from that point, I kind of just, for those few years I was in piano lessons, I kind of just always loved playing the piano. I didn't really know it was going to be something that would eventually have some influence on my life.
Yeah.
But I had a very strict piano teacher, and if I didn't practice, she would know. Like, she didn't play with me. She was like,
damn.
She lived down the street. She was a very strict German lady. If I didn't play, I still remember her, Gudrun was her name. If I didn't practice, she'd just look at me and say, you're figuring it out as you go. I'm going to need you to take this back. Like, 4-year-old kid, like, I'm going to need you to take this back to your parents. And I'm like walking around the neighborhood like, oh, my mom's gonna know I didn't practice. She's paying for these lessons, but I gotta go home now.
Yeah, no, that's a shit. No, that's a
am
tight spot.
Am I gonna look like I didn't even practice? Like I'm wasting her money because I gotta walk home 15 minutes after I went.
Oh man,
you know what I mean?
Literally.
So I'm having all this as a child. So
as a little kid, that's crazy.
So
that's crazy.
You being a kid thinking that, it's like it kind of puts also a higher level of respect, because she was teaching lessons to like doctors, people that were like, you know, 50 that had money and just wanted to learn how to play piano.
Yeah, literally.
So she didn't have time, man. She didn't have time
to be playing
like,
with a little 4-year-old.
She's like, I talk to people that have like their life is all figured out. I don't need to give you any break. So that led for me being like taking piano decently seriously, to then like, you know, fast forward to like getting a radio as a kid, listening to like top 40, and being informed by like, what is it that's making me like this particular song? Just always being interested in music and stuff. And I started writing lyrics at like the age of like 10, 11.
Yeah,
like just for fun. Like honestly, like remixes and stuff to songs.
Yep.
And then learning more about music, like, oh, there's a process called production where you make the beat or instrumental, and then not every beat is made with legitimate instruments. It's made with samples. And then what's a sample? Is a sample just a record sample, like, you know, on whosample.com, or is a sample also like a snare drum from 2008 that somebody
literally
you know? So learning all of those things, it's a rabbit hole, man. You can learn as much as you want to when it comes to music or audio or video, so, or photography. So I just kind of kept learning, and then I just started managing a group when I was about 17, a group of my friends at Woodbury High School.
Okay.
And
musicians, obviously.
Musicians, yeah. And we kind of had some level of a wave. We were trying to get to Soundset. We applied. We almost got in. Soundset 2015. So I think the year J. Cole headlined. And then we kind of just all went our separate ways. I went to college.
Yeah.
2 of them went their separate ways. One went to LA, the other got married.
Yeah, that usually happens after high school. You know, everyone has like a plan where you think how things are gonna go, and then obviously like once you're grown, shit just goes sideways.
Yep. Yep. So I think it all worked for the best. I'm very glad how things went in a lot of ways, because I became a really good mix engineer because my friend wasn't available to mix for me anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, they're not gonna hear what I'm saying.
Yeah. So
This
you had
guy's
to
not
mix
here,
yourself.
so
Yeah.
fight or flight. I was like, fight.
So do you produce yourself too then? Like the beats?
A lot of them. On Color, I think the only beat I didn't produce outright was my outro.
Okay. Yeah, because I did notice that you like on 2 of your EPs or tapes that you like to start with like an intro that is just production.
Yep.
Yeah, and so those are your productions though.
Yep. So like Shade, I played the piano, and then for Hugh, or I would say for the intro on Shade EP, I also played the piano on that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, and so Gabe, so about your early upbringing and as far as videography, what kind of got you started? Because I went on your page through a little discourse and seen you record a lot of skate videos early on. And so are you still kind of into that, or what made you start that?
What made me start that? I mean, you know, I was just a group of friends, like, you know, probably starting in middle school. Like, we all got super into skating. So yeah, we would just do that for a while, and then like, you know, I had some buddies that with skateboarding, it's like, you know, you either like I think what differentiates someone who's like pretty good to like the people that are always in front of the camera is like the like not having a fear response. Like so like I had a really good friend who was just like just like shred, like so good. You know,
like
he would,
a thrasher.
He would jump off a roof like he didn't care, you know, which actually can kind of bite you in the ass later on.
True, very true.
So I've seen that story play
depending
out.
on career path or whatever.
Yeah, and just, you know, like, you know, if you slam your head too hard or whatever.
Oh, jeez.
But you know, so yeah, I was like just filming, you know, started filming because, you know, I wasn't about to like get broke off that hard. Like, you know what I mean? I just like, I have that like instinct where I'm like, I don't really like want to get like messed up that bad. So, you know, I would still skate and stuff and shoot. But, you know, I like to film. So did some of that. And then, in high school, like, there was, you know, like I went to Central in St. Paul.
Oh, nice.
So there was like a little music scene there, you know, just every different type. But yeah, I had met like Corbin. And so I did a couple like I did one video for him, and then like that just like obviously like blew up. That was without you.
That shit blew up, yeah.
Yeah, and so that was like, you know, cool. And
where'd you meet him at?
I just like, I don't even know.
He went to
Central, but I don't even remember like how we.
That's crazy because I didn't even know he went to Central. So where'd you go to middle school then?
I went to Ramsey.
Ramsey.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So,
which was
you too.
which transitioned into like Washington or something, right?
Yeah, it's like Hidden River now or something like that.
Yeah.
Hidden River School. But yeah, no,
I seen like even my bad to cut you off, but I seen like even before the Corbin video, what kind of astonished me it was that you did a video with Anelia, which kind of was garnering some views. And did she go to your school too then?
Yeah, do you know her?
Yeah, I did. I went to middle school with her.
Small world.
So I was like, yeah, it's small ass world.
She's like an astrophysicist now or something.
That's insane. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was just kind of like messing around, you know. And then like, you know, after that initial video, then we did like another video, which was the DJ Khaled to My Father, and that one was more like, I felt more like I was a little more honed in creatively on that. Like, I was like kind of more like, okay, like this is all right, this is a thing, you know. And so like that one, I'm still pretty like stoked on how that turned out. And then yeah, man, it was just kind of like after that, like just sort of, I guess, growing like as an individual, kind of like, you know, going to school, like figuring all that stuff out, you know, my own shit, just kind of dealing with my own shit for some number of years.
Life for real.
Yeah, you know, developing as a person and like figuring stuff out. But yeah, so I went to like MCAD for school, and you know, did all that.
And did you study videography then, or
Yeah,
production.
yeah. I mean, it's like film studies, I think, is the major, but
Yep.
but yeah, no, they do you do everything there. You know, figure draw, like they start you out from scratch, and you do a lot of different things. So yeah, just developing, I think, creatively there. And then after this, after I graduated from MCAD, like, was just kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do. And then, like pretty shortly after I graduated in 2019, and then like you hit me up in like 2021. So like, I was just like, and also like getting on set too. Like, my partner's a producer, so like, definitely like was like cutting my teeth on set, and like getting on some movies and stuff.
Okay.
So like seeing how like the workflow is at the highest level,
Right.
So yeah, and that can be pretty brutal, but it's like a good experience to go through, man. Yeah, like I worked on a couple movies. Not a ton of big features come out here in Minnesota, but there was like a few that I was able to get on, with some pretty big like shooters and directors.
Okay.
So yeah, kind of got to like peek at like some more professional workflows.
Can you name drop any films by chance for the people?
Yeah, I mean, I worked on Marmalade, which was like a movie that shot here. Actually, it was like pretty brutal for me. But yeah, no, it was a good, like basically just being able to see, like being able to observe those professionals at work.
Yeah.
Really like shows you, what the craft is all about, I guess, what it takes. Yeah. And like, so I was like pretty inspired by that stuff, just watching, even just like commercials and stuff, like seeing those workflows, was pretty inspired by that. So when Gozie hit me up, I was like, definitely, I mean, I just had my mind on like creating something a little bit more cinematic.
Yeah. And that it was for sure.
Yeah. So like
you had even your subscribers astonished.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and it's kind of funny because like, I think, in retrospect, like every like piece of media, like visual media, like has its place where it is going to thrive the most, or like it's like almost like it was made for this. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the Corbin stuff was like it was made for the internet.
Yeah.
Like at that time and place.
Yeah.
It was just
who coordinated his outfits on the first one?
The first one that was actually him.
Because that was even with how you cut the scenes with showing both outfits was kind of cool. Like that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know like where that came from, dude. It was just
some
like
different type of shit.
I think we kind of just talked back and forth, like of like, oh, like this is kind of the look and vibe I'm going for, and it's like, okay, cool, and then like, just I don't know. I like moody stuff. Like I like moody, and I like I feel like I can acquiesce a visual look to like sad pretty easily, or like that's just something that I've always been able to do. So it's like, like walking in the woods, like super moody, and then like just the lo-fi aesthetic, it just kind of worked, and it was like it was just very good for that time and place, and as a piece of work just living on the internet, like, and it just, that's why I think it did so well.
And the camera style at that time too was kind of ahead. It's like the early ASAP Rocky Team Sesh.
Yeah, no, literally.
Like very much ahead.
Right.
I remember seeing Hot 97 Peter Rosenberg commenting on it, and that's when I kind of was like from St. Paul, this one got all the way to New York City. This is crazy.
No, it's huge.
I think it's still online. With Peter Rosenberg.
Yeah,
the interview of him talking about it.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. And it was just kind of, I don't know, like a wake up call of like, all right, like there's a lot of possibilities out there, with the internet, and like, what can happen? Anything, anything can happen. So, but back to my earlier point is like, with work, like at least like visual work existing and thriving like in a certain place, the best. It was funny because we dropped the video online, and we weren't sure what was going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like it's not like blowing up necessarily on YouTube, but like we have screened it at a couple festivals, and I was like, the last one we screened it at was like we did it like a full DCP, like it was like the full thing. Screened it at a good theater, and it was like, okay, this is where this needs to like live. Like everything about it was like perfect in that venue, and presenting it in that style, like your music and the visuals together. And that's why I think calling it a short film is like the best thing to call it, because it does thrive, and it lives, it's at its best when you're watching it in that way, and especially with your production too, like how your production is kind of more subdued or like more low key, but there's a lot there. You know what
Definitely,
I
I noticed that.
Yeah.
I was thinking that like your production sounds like a lot of like licensing type music, where it's like in the background it sounds smooth. You're just like, oh, what is this beat playing?
Right.
It just calms you down though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Right.
gives that vibe.
Very somber.
Right.
I do a lot of somber stuff.
Well, yeah, and I mean the one other thing I'll say is like with 94, especially. I mean both songs, but 94 towards the end,
Yep.
there was like so many layers just like kind of embedded, like kind of like down, that like came out super well in the theater.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's where all that is, because that's what we were really working through. Once we had shot it and we were kind of like in more of the post process, and I was like, all right, like let's keep adding layers to try to like build depth into this more. And you just kept bringing new elements in, and that's where I think like a lot of the magic lives, like with those layers that you added, because it's like you feel like the depth of your influences there, like on another level, you know, or it's like I always think that's cool in music where you like you can hear those influences, whether they came out consciously or not. Like even if it's an unconscious influence. God, when I was 10 years old, I heard this song and it was like really impactful. I totally forgot about it, but it's coming out now again.
Yeah.
At the right time. Like that shit's cool to me. And so that was what I really was hearing and do hear in that track.
Right.
That's like, and it came out super well in the theater. I'm like, okay, we got to screen this more times.
sure.
No, I know what you mean. Definitely by the layers. Like when I listen to it in like my JBL speakers, you can hear that through the headphones really well too. Like at the end of the song, yeah. I was gonna also ask, are you guys planning on continuing doing the short film festivals then too?
Yeah, we're kind of still pushing through the kind of the tour of film festivals. So we'll hear back from some, and we've done a pair of them so far, and we'll kind of see what comes from it. And then of course just like that medium, you know, just I think collaborating with Gabe has been great. So
Oh me, are you guys gonna continue the?
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
collabs
I
then,
think
for sure.
you know Gabe's a great creative mind, a great friend. So even some things I'll just run past him, whether even film, photography.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest reasons I reached out to Gabe particularly was because, again, I was a fan of his work. Just like the work I was seeing online that he was associated with, to me was just all very. High quality, and it seemed very purposeful, and I'm big on that. So if somebody's working on something and it looks like they're interested in what they're working on, that says more to me than how many things they've done or how many zeros are next to their name, or what they're willing to pay for something. I've turned down honestly a lot of opportunities. In a lot of ways, I feel like if I would have taken a different route, I'd be signed to like EXO right now or something.
Yeah, on some shit.
In a lot of ways, if I wouldn't have gone to college and stayed out of the Twin Cities, but personally, it's just like I kind of wanted to steer my own ship in a lot of ways, and I can see Gabe doing the same thing. So it was kind of a big thing where I was like, rather than just putting myself and associating myself with something, I want to work with people who are interested in like really high quality product, really
like their craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say about the video. One last question. At the end, when you grabbed the flower, were those already there, or did you guys find those?
That is a question that
We'll leave that. We'll leave that
okay,
Easter egg for
Easter
you.
egg. Okay.
Yeah, but Gabe did shoot the album.
Because I was like, damn, those that was kind of. That's a moment like you said, when you're like a kid or something, you remember certain things. That's like a moment I feel like people will remember, just like you finding that flower out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Yeah, we'll leave that one for the kids to figure out. You'll have to go to that same peak and check if it's there 50 years from now.
No, that's fire. That's fire.
Yeah.
And so, lastly, are you guys? What do you guys got planned for your future, as far as you and your endeavors, in music and you visually?
Honestly, yeah, I can speak on a lot of things that if you asked me 5 years ago, I would have probably told you a whole lot of other stuff. So from my perspective right now, I just want to keep just kind of pushing the limits as to what not only I can do, but then what I can work on. So I think a lot of what I've done as a artist has been to kind of showcase my abilities. I was primarily interested in songwriting. That was why I started working on my solo stuff.
Yeah.
So that I could get into rooms and work with people on and showcase, hey, I do know how to mix, engineer. This is proof. Hey, I do know how to make a beat. This is proof.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, I've found, different avenues to work and create things. So, yeah, I mean, ideally I would be able to do something, larger, like, on the scale of like A24, and I think Gabe is such a great creative that I'm not even sure whatever he's doing that I could be associated with, I'm happy to work on, but I've just kind of been thinking about, larger ways and larger clients to work with, and just, maybe the Timberwolves, maybe larger brands,
Just as far as like getting your music out there in bigger platforms.
Yep, and just like the creativity, I'd be cool scoring a film for the Timberwolves. Like that's the level of where I'm kind of thinking now, where I'm like, if I can score a short film, who's to say I can't score like a movie? you know?
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, it's like why limit myself at this point?
It's all about just stacking that resume and continuing to build on your craft.
Right, or doing like essentially like when I think Jay-Z did the what movie was it? American Gangster.
Yeah.
He did the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it's like he didn't produce it, he just was the artist, but I mean, why can't I do a soundtrack like Metro Boomin,
Yeah, literally.
Like Spider-Man.
No, that's legit.
Yeah.
I fuck with that.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I think this project was kind of a proof of concept in a way, and I mean, I want to continue doing more stuff like this and working with artists,
right.
And a lot of it comes down to having an infrastructure, like being able to harness the type of gear that we used, the type of resources we used. Because making films and videos that are high quality, it's it takes a lot. It takes like crew, like personnel, like expensive kit, a whole lot of that stuff.
Big budget for real.
Budget, you know, and I think we did a great job at like doing it on a shoestring and pulling favors and stuff.
Yeah.
And and luckily I've been able to meet enough people that I was able to pull some favors. And get some help from the community. Right. But I don't know, just keep building out the infrastructure so that it's like, oh, hey, if there's like an artist that's like has a lot of potential and like we can work on something together, because that's kind of like, I always like working with people that maybe are undiscovered, but there's something there, and I usually know pretty quick if I think there's something there or not.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like kind of like when I listen to your music and I'm like, you are talent, like the talent is there.
Yeah, the
you know
raw
what I mean?
talent.
The talent is there. At that point, it's
sure.
just about cultivating it and growing it because it exists. And I kind of think that like, to me, and at least everyone has different tastes. It's subjective, but like to me, I feel like I can spot talent pretty well. Like if I'm like, you have something, you know what I mean? And and then it's just about like, and so I think, and just having done a lot of things, I feel like I have kind of my own, for better or worse, like philosophies in terms of like how to create stuff.
Yeah.
And that can kind of like, I can kind of provide that guidance to people where it's like, okay, like, and it's just about like digging deep, and like, 100%. And digging deeper than you thought you could, and tapping into like a reservoir of what makes you good, you know? And just bringing it out more. So, we continue to do that type of stuff, and we'll see what kind of work evolves for me as I'm kind of working in just like in my career here in town. There's like some there's here's like a lot of commercial work that mostly happens for like high end video and stuff. It's a lot of commercial,
definitely.
But I think that there's always been a lot of creative stuff going on here, and it's like, I would like to bring more high-end visual work into these spaces, which is like I said, it's not an easy thing to do because it's because of the money involved, because of the the resources that you need. But I have kind of a grasp on some of that stuff, so I can kind of like bring some of those resources in.
Right.
And so,
Right.
yeah, I mean that's hopefully hopefully
Something cool.
I feel like
and
people
I
will
do
definitely
wanna,
be
yeah,
hitting you up after this.
Emphasize that because I mean, it wasn't. I mean, Gabe can tell you it wasn't very easy logistically. I mean, we started that film 2022,
yeah, we had to break it out a little bit. And,
so
yeah.
it came out
Yeah.
like it was like a 1.5 to 2 year process
For a 3-minute video.
from pre-production to post-production. But I think, again, yeah, we're that's the kind of stuff we're trying to do. It's like
Yeah.
you kind of have to tap into that reservoir and show somebody that this is what I'm willing to do. This is what I'm willing to work on to get that quality of a product. And then after that, you can, there's proof of concept.
For sure.
So, yeah, just continuing to work on stuff like that. And I think a lot of things I find, like, especially in the space in the Twin Cities scene, I'm a big fan of a lot of stuff. I'm a fan of the water wave. I'm a fan of a lot of platforms.
Yeah.
But I think it's like people also have to remind themselves that, like, not everything that you like, you're going to be associated with in life.
Yeah.
Right?
That is
So
true.
I could be a fan of Target. I might never do anything with Target in my life. I might just shop there for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Right?
for real.
And so sometimes people have this like mentality where they feel like they're owed something because they've been shopping at Target for 40 years.
Yeah.
But it's like I watch Waterwave every day and I comment on all your videos. Why can't you interview me?
Yeah.
But it's like there's a level of respect too that you have to have for every platform that you work with or that you take care of. So for me, as I work with more artists and hopefully in more brands, I hope I can provide service to them, but I'm also not naive at this point, and also I don't have the same energy I had when I was 18 to believe that I'm going to just work with everyone. I'm going to just try and do the highest quality stuff I can with the people I know.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll fuck with that.
That's about it.
Hell yeah. I appreciate you boys stopping by. It was nice to meet you, Gabe.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, me.
You
Thanks
too.
for stopping, Gozie. Oh, me. And we'll see y'all. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.
I get lost in what things seem to be